Good evening. In this recording we are on this IDS 806 alarm system. This one is the upgrade to the previous 805 system. And while there are quite a couple of resemblances between the two, one of them that we definitely need to look into is the voltage that is placed in from the power supply. And the previous one was rated for AC input. This one is particularly rated for a DC input, so you can't use the same power supply and just interchange that PCB. You ultimately will have to use the power supply that has been built for this particular system, and we will get to that power supply in a moment. Then you will see I'm not using the standard colors for the cabling. Reason being, Scalums also tend to know the color coding these days, so I am specifically reverting to not using the red and black for my power, and we will just be substituting the orange and the blue then for positive and negative, with our brown and our green being the data. What's just important here is that we keep the same arrangement throughout the whole setup. And for this one I will be doing it as straightforward as possible, just so we can actually get the system going. I have taken the PCB out of the lovely plastic enclosure that it has come with. So you will see here everything is neatly marked, same way the IDS 805 was also marked. And to save time, I've already terminated a couple of our zones with the end of line resistors. We will just be using zones 1 and 2, just so that we can get a feel of this particular system. The auxiliary out there would be to power your zones, and if you do have a higher power load there, please do consider using a third-party auxiliary out there. That is obviously our siren connection, and the keypad connection is sitting here on the side. These two cables that are previously soldered into the PCB from the factory, these ones are then for the battery that we will also not even be hooking up in this case. We just want to actually get the system to power on. This is the keypad, the front view of it, and it has had somewhat of a facelift from the previous 805. A lot of resemblance is still here, and then if we turn it around, I've already just threaded my cable in through the back side that we do before connecting it up to the PCB, otherwise it becomes impossible to do that threading later on. To save time, I've already connected my cables to the keypad, and I'm just going to talk you through that. Here is the little tamper switch, so if someone does break open the keypad, then it will immediately just play dead. You'll see here that my orange cable has been connected to my positive 12 volt, and the blue cable then to the negative 12 volt, here depicted as ground. My brown cable being the data connection, and the green one being the clock connection. We'll not bother much about the other two connections, just for the straightforward setup. So these are ultimately my keypad cables here, and I've just opened them up quite a bit so we can actually see the colors nicely. So I will now start with just making sure that these little cables are all nicely open. We don't want problems later on. just bend it over like so, and I just do that with all of my connection cables. Alright, now we proceed into connecting the cables as I previously explained. In this case then the orange going over the positive, and that simply screws in until the little clamps close it. Then the negative is on this side, and then my data was the brown one, and the clock was the green one, only marked as a C here on the PCB. Okay, just to show you a bit close up here. So these connections are now corresponding to the way that they are connected to the keypad. The 12 volt positive is then connected to 12 volt positive with the orange wire. The ground is both cases connected with a blue cable, and the data is connected with a brown and the clock with a green. So technically speaking, if we should power the system up now, there would actually be life on this keypad. Alright, I'm just going to put the keypad together for the moment. Simply press is closed. I'm just going to put it aside for now. And we are now coming to what I will just be using as a mock door. Now, by factory default, the door is programmed here as zone 1, and we will just say that we are satisfied with that. Now, the reason of these end-of-line resistors, and this is a fault I see many installers make, they put all of their end-of-line resistors here at the PCB. That is actually defeating their purpose. Always place the end-of-line resistor as close as possible to the zone. Reason being, if a scallum cuts the cable here and simply breaches them, and this resistor is close to the zone, then the voltage measurement will obviously be different, and the system is going to pick it up and will actually register a tamper then, if so set up. Whereas if I just connect all of my resistors here and the scallums would breach the cable here, then the system is going to be tricked, still thinking that the zone is closed. Alright, so I'll proceed into just connecting my door, in this case to zone 1, and you'll see the negative sign there. That would be for your common, and that common is then shared with zone 2 as well. So I'm going to close up the screw for zone 1. I'm going to leave the common open for the moment while we connect one motion detector with it. The particular motion detector I'm going to be using is just for demonstration purposes, and is actually not recommended if you really want a foolproof system. This is just one of those little Optech savers that actually came with a system. Really the easiest to trick, these ones, so I wouldn't recommend that. Okay, to save time, I've already connected this little guy up as well. Now, if this were a real life install, then I would have obviously pinched a hole here at the back so that we can thread the cable through there. Just to talk you through what's happening here, once again our positive and negative is the orange and the blue. Now you will see, and these connections are the particular ones we are interested in. You'll see that there is an connection there that is marked NC. Now that stands for normally closed. On some more advanced sensors there will still be another one here marked normally open, or NO. So that's ultimately going to depend on what your system requirements are. For this one we are using a normally closed system, which is obviously also the more foolproof one of it. Our tamper we are not going to set up, and I have left the end of line resistor clearly visible here for you. If this were a real life installation, I would have cut the leads for that resistor, but I've just left it there so it can draw your attention. We are connecting the end of line resistor as close as possible to our zone, and these are then our data cables, the green and the brown, and we are using it here with a 3.3k resistor, and we will just say that we are satisfied there with. Couple of other settings here on this particular motion detector. That little one is the tamper switch, which would obviously then correspond to those two tamper connections there. And here you can actually set how much you actually want the sensor to work, whether you want the sensitivity set to low, medium or high. This current one is set to high, and we'll just say that we're satisfied with it. And we will also say that we want the LED on. So that is our motion detector right there. And now I just proceed in connecting this one up to the control panel this side. That's going to go over zone 2, and my power cables will then be connected to the auxiliary out of the alarm system. So once again, our data cables have been the green and the brown, and these two then goes to zone 2. And you'll see our end of line resistor here is on the brown cable, so I'll just proceed in connecting that one to the zone, and the green one then goes to the common. And we just keep that throughout the system, we keep that arrangement the same. That is ultimately just to save confusion. So there goes that green one along with the door sensor, or the magnetic reed switch then, if you will, and that goes to zone 2, while my zone power positive or red cable then goes to my auxiliary out here, positive, and the blue cable then to the auxiliary out, negative. Come on. There it goes. Okay, just lock that one in place. That's it. So now we go to the power supply, and lovely little power supply actually. Just gonna open this little screw up. When this comes from the box, there's actually not any screw here. Just gonna open it up. Alright. And that just clips off then. Once again, I've kept my connections the same, the red one being for the positive and the blue one for the negative, if I can move that out of the way. And that PE in the middle is standing for protective earth, which I have not connected up in this case. Right, same procedure is going to be followed this side then. The power connection, just going to take these two out of the way. And for a real life install, a little hack that I always do. Obviously get rid of that little off-cut part there, and I simply wind up my wires I'm not using. I just wind these up around the enclosure of the wire, so they're neatly out of the way there. Okay, that now goes to our power connection on the control panel. Once again, the red or orange then being positive and the blue being the negative, keeping the same order throughout the system. Okay, right. Now I'm simply going to hook this power supply up, and then there should be life here. Or let's install a magnetic reed switch for the moment, and they simply look like this. If we open it up, that's how it looks like, and that little glass tube is the actual reed switch. And now the trick is to get our end of line resistor also tucked in here, always in series connection then with a zone. Sports is quite going on. I'm once again not going to cut the leads. If this were a real life installation, I would have cut the leads for that resistor. Just use the star screwdriver for the moment. Just leaving this resistor visible so you can clearly see what's going on here. And then the cable is obviously just going to slide in between those two little plates. Okay, so this little guy is wired up, and then the other part of it is obviously the part that is going to be connected to the door, and this one is simply just containing a magnet. Okay, so let's close this one up for the moment. If it were a real life install, not best to put the resistor outside. It's just to show you. getting tangled here now. I'm just gonna place this little motion detector's face back on. We're just gonna say that we are satisfied with these default settings for now. Okay. Right, so just before you get worried, this cover is not completely on, so it's not pinching those wires. This is just a temporary close-up so we can power it on. So in a nutshell then, what's going on here, that's our keypad, that's our motion detector, and that's our door. We now proceed into connecting the siren. I'm just going to turn it upside down for the moment. And as I've previously mentioned, these just connect to the connection marked siren. The black to the negative and the red to the positive. See if I can get my hand in there. Copper is protruding a little bit too much. Okay. Now I'm just going to proceed and connect it to the power. And it should actually power on despite not having a battery. In fact, the IDS wants power from AC first before the battery can be connected. Just once again, that AC is then brought down to anything between 18 volt and I think 24 volt DC. And there's life. Connection loose. And now I simply press hash on the keypad so that we can actually get that registered. Okay, so you will notice here that the power light is flashing. That means that there's a complaint. We'll just check. Okay, so currently we have two issues here, but that should be cleared out. The whole problem here is about the battery, and the other one looks like the siren is not making good enough contact according to the system, which is quite interesting. Alright, we will now proceed into just connecting the two connectors for the door here, so we can actually get the system to ready mode. And that's it. Just a quick recap of what's going on here from the factory default settings side then. Your zone 1 is as programmed from the factory, your entry and exit door, with your zone 2 being the follower zone. The rest of them are normal instant zones, with zone 8 being the instant audible zone. In other words, the zone where one would connect a panic button. By default, your master code would be 1234 and your installer code would be 9999, in other words 4 nines. So before we do anything here, we always press hash just to clear any previous wrong entries. And if I can get the little motion detector into view here, we can now proceed into arming the system so we see if it is actually going to work as described. So that's it. Exit delay starts. I'm going to open the door, in this case it's zone 1, as to actually make the system think that we are leaving the building. And then I'm going to close it again so that it normals a normal away arm there. Now it's armed. I'm going to open the door and then the entry delay should start. Disarmed. So that in a nutshell is then the IDS 806, and this has now been set up just the bare minimum way just to show you how it works, and from here this could provide you a guideline then on how to install the system. I hope that this would help you, and see you in the next video.